Okay, let's dive right into this. We're doing something really special today. We're going to make a short, beautiful book summary of Paulo Coelho's absolute classic fable, The Alchemist. In this explainer, we're going to take this magical, incredibly famous tale and distill it into a really concise journey of self-discovery, uncovering the core philosophical truths hidden right beneath the surface.
But first, I want to ask you a question right off the bat. What is your personal legend? Seriously, think about it for a second. If you're a dreamer who's feeling, kind of stuck in the daily grind, maybe you're working a job that pays the bills but doesn't exactly feed your soul, this question is absolutely for you. In Coelho's story, this is basically the ultimate question of human existence.
Well, according to this mysterious old king of Salem who pops up early in the text, a personal legend is really simple. It's what you have always wanted to accomplish. He says everyone knows what theirs is when they're young, but as time passes, this mysterious force tries to convince us that it's impossible. And that brings us to our hero, Santiago. He's a humble shepherd in Andalusia. His parents really wanted him to be a priest, but he chose the open fields because, above literally everything else, he just wanted to travel and see the world.
Which brings us right to Section 1, the call to adventure. Every epic journey kicks off with a sign, right? For Santiago, it comes in the form of this crazy recurring dream. A child tells him that if he travels all the way to the Egyptian pyramids, he's going to find a hidden treasure. But to get there, he has to take a hard look at his current life. See, his father had given him 3 ancient Spanish gold coins as an inheritance, and Santiago used them to buy a flock of sheep so he could travel around Andalusia. But to chase this massive new dream of the pyramids, he faces a really tough choice. He must sell the very sheep that gave him his initial freedom.
To give him a little push, the King of Salem shares this absolutely legendary piece of wisdom. Let's just highlight this, give it to you straight like a subtitle, so you can really soak it in. And when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. The king explains that the soul of the world is nourished by people's happiness, and this mysterious positive force is always going to aid those who are brave enough to actually chase their dreams.
Now, what's really interesting here is how his actual journey maps out. We go from the familiar fields of Andalusia, across the strait to Tangier in Africa, pushing through the harsh desert to an oasis, and finally hitting the pyramids. By mapping out this huge physical distance, we can actually free ourselves up to focus on the much deeper philosophical meaning behind every single one of these stops.
All right, moving on to Section 2, following the omens.
So almost the second Santiago steps foot in Tangier, he gets completely robbed, just brutal. Left with literally nothing in a foreign land, he has to make a conscious choice. Is he a poor victim, or is he an adventurer on a quest? He chooses the latter. He gets a job working for a crystal merchant up on a hill, and it's there he starts learning what he calls the language without words. Just by observing things, like a butterfly or a shift in the wind, Santiago realizes that enthusiasm and purpose are universally understood. He ends up dramatically improving the merchant's business through pure, unadulterated passion.
The really crucial takeaway here is that Santiago learns to rely on omens. Remember what the old king taught him. God has prepared a path for everyone to follow. You just have to read the omens that he left for you. Everyday stuff, a sudden idea, a weird change in the wind, a chance meeting. He treats all of it as breadcrumbs left by the soul of the world. And it's these very omens that eventually convince him to leave that comfortable new job and join a caravan crossing the Sahara Desert.
And this brings up such a brilliant contrast in the story. Early on, the king talked about the principle of favorability. Basically, beginner's luck. It whets our appetite at the start of a journey, right? It makes us feel good. But as Santiago actually progresses, that luck totally fades, and it gets replaced by severe tests of perseverance. The universe hooks you with beginner's luck, sure, but it makes you earn the treasure through the victor's test.
Which leads us perfectly right into Section 3, the desert's alchemy.
This caravan trek, it is incredibly harsh and super dangerous. Along the way, Santiago meets this Englishman who is searching for a literal alchemist, someone who can actually turn lead into gold. But while the Englishman is just burying his face in heavy books, Santiago learns from the desert itself. By watching the camels and the shifting sands, he learns about maktub, an Arabic word meaning "it is written." The desert teaches him incredible patience. It teaches him how to accept fate and how to live completely, fully in the present moment without constantly worrying about tomorrow.
Once they finally hit the oasis, Santiago falls head over heels for a woman of the desert named Fatima.
I mean, he is so tempted to just abandon his treasure and stay with her forever. But the true alchemist, the guy he finally meets, hits him with this incredibly powerful truth. You must understand that love never keeps a man from pursuing his personal legend. If it does, it wasn't true love. True love actually supports our ultimate goals. It doesn't hold us back.
If you think about it, chasing any big dream generally happens in 3 distinct stages. You start out with beginner's luck. Then you endure those brutal tests of perseverance. And finally, right before you reach your goal, you face the ultimate hurdle, mastering the lessons. The soul of the world is going to test absolutely everything you've learned before it actually hands over the treasure.
So what's the biggest hurdle in that final stage? Well, the book lays it out perfectly. There's only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. Santiago and the alchemist get captured by warring tribes. And to save his own life, Santiago has to overcome his profound terror and figure out how to literally turn himself into the wind. By pushing past his fear, he communicates with the desert, the wind, and the sun, finally proving his mastery over the language of the world.
And that brings us to our final section, your personal legend.
After surviving this intense tribal war, Santiago finally rides out alone to the Egyptian pyramids. He's being guided by an inner voice that he has finally learned how to understand. The alchemist had told him, where your treasure is, there also will be your heart. See, during that harsh desert crossing, Santiago's heart was fearful. It was traitorous, constantly reminding him of everything he might lose. But by actually engaging with it and refusing to just ignore it, he made his heart a powerful ally. And it's his heart that tells him exactly where to dig at the base of the pyramids. But guys, here is the massive twist of the whole story. As he's digging, he gets brutally beaten and robbed by refugees from the tribal wars. When Santiago finally admits he was digging for a treasure he saw in a recurring dream, the lead thief just laughs at him. The thief says he also had a recurring dream, that there was a treasure buried beneath a ruined church in Andalusia, right where a sycamore tree grew, which is the exact place where Santiago started his journey. The physical gold was at home all along.
So, I've just got to ask you the biggest question of this entire explainer. Was it all for nothing? If the gold was just sitting under the tree where he used to sleep with his sheep the whole time, why on earth did he have to cross the world, lose his money, face death, and cross the Sahara?
To really get it, think back to the story of Narcissus from the very beginning of the book's prologue. Narcissus stared into the lake not just to see his own beauty, but because the lake saw its own beauty reflected in his eyes. It's a perfect metaphor for this moment. Santiago's external journey across the world was absolutely necessary for his internal, spiritual transformation. He never would have known how to find the treasure or how to even understand its value without the lessons of the crystal merchant, the desert, the alchemist, and his own heart.
When we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. That right there, that is the real secret of the alchemist. True alchemy isn't just about turning physical lead into physical gold. It's about transforming ourselves. It's about evolving from our base state into the absolute highest version of our personal legend. So as we wrap up this whole journey today, I really want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Take a close look at your own daily life. Are you listening to the omens of your own personal legend? Or are you letting the fear of failure keep you from crossing your own desert? The treasure might literally be right at your feet, but you just might have to transform yourself to finally see it.